Ashley, thank you so much for hopping on. Why don't you start by just telling us a little bit about yourself and tell everyone who you are?
Yeah, so I'm Ashley Rogers. I am a women's coaching specialist, recently FRC certified, as in like a week fresh certified, which is functional range conditioning. I'm a nutrition coach, and basically, I help women move better, train stronger, eat better, and become the main character in their life. And specifically now, working with fantasy book nerds.
Nice, nice. I like that. I want to dive into the fantasy book nerd part, but first, tell me a little bit about the FRC and how you got into that, and what changes you think you're going to be doing to your overall coaching approach and philosophy.
Oh man, that has been a mental journey, let me tell you. So, anybody who follows me or has listened to any of my content before, I was a previous circus performer. I severely hurt my back 7 years ago. I was told I needed a spinal fusion. I said, "You are not touching my spine. That's not happening." I went to physical therapy, chiro, all of it. I did everything you could possibly do for 7 years. And you know how it is. They're like, "Don't move your back.
Yeah.
Just don't lift things."
Hmm.
It's like, "Cool. I have 3 kids. You want me to just not lift my kids?"
Right.
Great. So I had immense back pain. I was a gymnastics teacher for 7 years. So, being a gymnastics teacher and them not wanting me to flex my spine,
Yep.
not to mention being a weightlifter. And then the fact that circus was literally taken away from me because I couldn't do it anymore. It was too painful and too dangerous, is what they made it to be. Um, Flash forward 7 years to this last September of 2023, and in the mentorship that we were both a part of, I met Shane, who is FRC certified, and he deals specifically with pain. And he messaged me that he could fix my back. I thought he was full of shit, but he was like, "Just let me try." And within 4 weeks, I was back in my aerial hoop,
Nice.
and I'm pain free, like doing things that I haven't done since I was 20. Um, so, the concept of FRC is everything starts with your joints, right? If your joints aren't healthy, if you don't have movement in your joints, anything else that you're going to try to do um, is not going to be optimal. You can't move where you can't move, right?
Yeah.
So this allows me to bring this training into what I'm currently doing, and I deal with a lot of moms and a lot of moms who have hip and lower back pain who have just been told, like, "Well, you're almost 40, you've had kids, deal with it,
Yeah.
this is life." And it's not true. So I'm really excited to incorporate this line of thinking, and because it is a whole its own way. I've had to unlearn a lot, I've had to relearn, and I'm still learning, but I'm so excited to incorporate this into their programming as well.
That's awesome.
So
That's
there's
awesome.
my long spiel on that.
Well, good. Let's make it longer. You said that you were dealing with this back pain slash injury for 9 years prior to working with Shane,
Yeah, almost 9 years.
and through his, we'll call it prehabilitation routine, you were able to alleviate most of the pain in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's a pretty good turnaround from struggling with it for over 9 years.
Yeah, and then I signed up for a full year because I was like, "Well, what else can we make stronger?" I was like, my shoulders suck. And when I say suck, I mean I'm hypermobile, so I have a very unsafe range of motion. I have a ton of flexibility, but not strength in that range of motion, which, as you know, in like the weightlifting world, that's dangerous.
Yeah.
Like when you're loading that extreme range of motion, your body is like, "Okay, this is unsafe." Um, so now I'm 6 months in. I'm going to be, doing this for the foreseeable well, I mean, the rest of my life now. But just making all of my joints and connective tissue stronger so that I don't continue to injure myself.
Nice. Nice. I like that. And like you said, it starts at the joint, so then the muscle can improve and everything like that. I want to take two side tangents. First, you have extremely hypermobile shoulders. I'm the exact opposite. I have a lot of strength with very limited range. My buddy is a park ranger, and he has to practice like handcuffing people and stuff like that. And so he'll be like, I get to be his dummy. And so he's like, put your hands behind your back, and I will. And he's like, is that all you got? I'm like, yes, sir. He's like, I can't even do a back cuff on you. I have to do a front cuff. I'm like, oh, well, that's what happens when you
I'd be like the contortionist that could like pull out of the handcuff.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm there like on the ground. I'm like, this is simple. I just flex right out of this and not going anywhere. But going back to what you said about not wanting to bend your spine, or your doctor's telling you not to do so. I used to work in a facility prior to my online coaching days. I used to work in a facility that its main target demographic were women over 50 who wanted to improve their bone density. The place was called OsteoStrong. It's a franchise. And
So important.
yeah, it is. It is. It's a company business that's backed by Tony Robbins. He's like a massive investor in the business. And essentially what they did was they created some machines that were isometric, but at maximum force. And so the most prevalent machine it looked like a leg press machine, but you just didn't move. Like there was no weight stack moved. It was like you were locked in place and there was a force plate, and so you pushed on it, and that helped a lot with like the hips, because a lot of people, they get osteoporosis in their hips, and then they fall, and you get to a certain point in life where if you fall and break a hip, that's literally a death sentence for you.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
Yeah. And so the whole premise of the facility was really cool and everything like that. But I would get a lot of elderly women come in, because that's their target demographic. And some people would just tell me horror stories about their doctors saying, oh, you can only have three bends in a day. I'm like, what the hell? That's like the most arbitrary number. Like, bending down to pick up a pencil is a bend, but like, what if you have to pick up a typewriter? Does that count as a bend? Like, those are two different loads.
Shit up at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like, there were people that were like literally scared almost to the brink of death, or scared that they were going to die if they bended the wrong way. And I'm like, this is like the body fragility fallacy, where my body is weak, therefore I shouldn't use it, therefore it becomes weak and you can't use it. And a large part of it, what we were doing was just improving their muscular strength and their bone density through these isometric contractions at a maximal force.
Yeah. Well, and think about our bodies, what they were created to do, right? Like, we were hunter-gatherers.
Yeah.
Right? Like, think about how, if you've ever watched a toddler, think of how they sit. Like, their natural sit is a squat, is a like ass to the grass squat. Yeah. Right? And at some point we just stopped doing that because we invented chairs. Right? Or else we'd still be doing that. Mm-hmm. Like, our bodies are made to move continuously in multiple ranges of motion throughout the entire day. And for some reason we stopped doing that, and we started training very linearly. And I mean, that was me up until 6 months ago. Yeah. I was very much a like, strength is the only way to go. Like, right? Like, we do push, we do pull, we do press, we do carries. So this has been a very big, like, I love to learn in general, but this has been like, I had to unlearn a lot of things to then relearn, and it's been a mental adventure.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. I'm definitely guilty of that. Oh, my shoulder hurts. It means I need to bench more.
Yeah. We're gonna have a side talk after this.
Yeah, exactly. So, circling back, I don't think it's a shock to either one of us or anybody listening that you and I, it sounds like we have very similar avatars or branding, right? And you said you
Right.
recently had a branding shift to where you now focus more on bookworms or, like you said, fantasy novels, which is still
Mm.
all within the same. It's like you're sub niching down within your sub niche, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about that. I know, when we have our conversations, it seems like you're almost like you were in this like cocoon-like state, and now you are coming out as this nerdy bookworm butterfly that you were. Um,
That is a visual. I love it.
and so, tell me about that evolution, and we can go from there.
Yeah, so I know we talked about this a little bit on a live, but when I first started my business, it's Level Up Strength and Nutrition, and the name comes from Dungeons and Dragons, right? I am a big Dungeons and Dragons nerd. That's how we started talking.
Yep.
And, based on the concept of when you do cool shit, you level up and you get more cool shit, right?
Yeah.
And you're capable of doing more cool shit.
Yep.
And that's the goal with training too, like mentally and physically. Like you want to be constantly leveling up. We're not going to cap out at level 20, right? We want those extra levels too.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no level 20 ceiling here. So originally my goal was to have a D&D themed business.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't really work for me in the beginning because I also wanted to work with moms.
Right. Dungeon mommies, which has a really
Dungeon
weird.
Mommies.
Yeah, that has a very weird connotation. More S&M, but
Listen, I have a tank top that says, like, you can call me Dungeon Mommy or something like that, and I wear it to the gym, and I always wonder what people think. But it's not my problem.
right.
There's not a lot. I mean, there are moms, of course, that play Dungeons and Dragons, but it's not a huge crossover.
Right. Right.
Of moms who play Dungeons and Dragons who also want to lift weights.
Now that's a sub niche inside a sub niche.
There's probably like 5 of us.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So then I was like, all right, I'll work with moms. And then I just kind of found myself being put in this box, right? Of like, okay, well, this is what a trainer, an online trainer should be doing, should look like. This is the image I should be portraying. This is what my content should look like.
Yep.
And I actually went through like a lot of depression around it because as we were talking about before we hopped on this, like I'm a performer at heart. I'm a creative. I'm the dungeon master always. So
Oh, yeah.
like I am the performer,
Same.
right? I am a creator. I am the imaginer, so for me content is very personal. It's not just I gotta get the content out to let people know that I'm here, right? It's an evolutionary process for me.
Yeah.
Which is why it's something that I will never give up to somebody else, if that makes sense. Like that's not something I'll ever offload.
Yeah.
And I got to a point where I don't think I wanted to do my business anymore. And it wasn't because of my clients. I love my clients. They're getting results. They're doing well. But I just felt dead inside.
Right. You had an identity crisis where you weren't identifying with what you're presenting.
Yeah, I really wasn't. And I had to kind of hit that rock bottom. We talk about phoenixes all the time. We have a lot of crossovers, I think.
Yeah.
You kind of have to burn yourself down to rise from the ashes. And I definitely got to that point of like, I was literally on the Disney website because I'm 10 minutes from Disney looking at jobs. I'm like, all right, guess it's time to get a full-time job.
Dang. Okay.
because this does not light my fire anymore.
Right.
And let's be real. This is not a job that you're like, well, you know, I'm making so much money that like being miserable is kind of worth it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I mean, I don't think you should ever be miserable in your job, but being an entrepreneur is hard.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely the hard path.
And then being virtual can be isolating. So I finally got to a point where I was just like, something has to change.
And then that's when you came up with the rebranding. You said, I'm pretty sure, because I know we talked, you were kind of in a, you know what, I'm not happy, so fuck it. Let's see what happens when I can actually present my true self type of mode. Am I wrong there?
No, you're completely right. I was just like, well, like, I'm not really getting any business. What's the worst thing that could happen if I just completely leaned in to being a nerd? Like,
Right.
to being my authentic self. What's the worst thing that could happen?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, I don't make money. Okay.
Right.
It's already happening.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Well, and it's not like your current clients are going to leave you. Like, oh,
And
I've
my
been
current
dealing with a
clients are-
nerd this whole time. Gross.
and my current clients are already fantasy readers,
Yeah.
right? Like, I'm already attracting those people anyway, just based off of my personality
Mm-hmm.
and the, you know, the circles that I associate with.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the exact moment that I thought this is it. Sorry, that's my dog has opinions on this. I saw a lot on social media. There has just been this huge, you know, with book talk, like book talk and
Booktubers, those are pretty big.
yeah. Oh my gosh, it's just blown up.
Yeah.
And so many of the books that are popular on Book Talk are books with very physically and mentally strong female leads.
Yeah.
Right? Gone are the days of the damsel in distress who needs a man to come save her, right? But what I love about these so much are that they're not women who are just written as strong, right? Like, just like, you know, with Dungeons and Dragons, like, everybody has a fucking tragic backstory. Nobody's just like, oh, I'm gonna leave my beautiful wife and children just to go on this terrifying adventure just because.
Right.
Right? Like, they've overcome so many things to make themselves physically and mentally strong. And I was like, there's something here. Right? There is something here where the women who are reading these books really identify with these women.
Yeah, especially
Of, like,
probably.
yeah, like-
Sorry, not to interject, but
go
probably
ahead.
especially early on in the first act, where they are that. I don't want to say weak, but they're that meek, mild character that has that call to action that they don't answer at first, that they're reluctant to answer, and then, to put it in Star Wars talk, Luke Skywalker goes home and sees that his hometown or his home has been burned down, and his aunt and uncle are burned alive, and so now he has to answer that call to action that he originally said no to, and so that right there is probably because I see this too. And I'm not going to spin this into me, but I see this a lot with people. To put it in real world talk, and I'm sure you probably can relate to this as well. Just you have somebody that said, "Oh, I just went to the doctor. I have high blood pressure. I'm pre-diabetic. My doctor said I need to lose 50 pounds. I can't pick up my kids anymore. I'm winded all the time." Those are call to actions, right? And
Yeah.
then they're like, "Okay, I need to change." But need and want are two different things. And so they need to change, but they don't
Absolutely.
want to. And so then they get that, then they become reluctant, they say they need to change, they try it, fall off, and then they have that come to Jesus moment where they actually want to make a change, and then that's when they answer that call to action. And so I can feel like a lot of people reading, especially that first third of the book, are probably really relating with that character, and then
Yeah.
continuing the story, continuing the book, it helps essentially, in their mind's eye, create a roadmap for them on how they can improve their health.
Absolutely.
Or
Like,
life in general.
there's a really popular book right now. I thought I had it right here. I don't know. Fourth Wing, where the main character Violet has Ehlers-Danlos, right? She's hypermobile, extremely hypermobile, to the point that she has to like wrap her joints or they will dislocate.
Oh damn.
And to me, that was like, oh, like this is really cool. Like we're seeing some hypermobility here, which isn't like ever talked about
Right.
in the fantasy world, right? Like we talk about being like stiff and sore and stuff, but like nobody's ever like, oh my god, like my knees are gonna bend backwards.
Yeah.
But then she's like forced into like the dragon riding squadron and has to learn how to swing a sword and ride dragons, and she's weak physically and like dislocating, and she has to train like hell to get to where she needs to be, right? And she is waking up early, she is eating more food, she is, you know, getting smarter too, because she has to be smart about the way that she trains. And it's just, it's amazing to be able to watch these women go through these transformation processes in the book, because as a coach you're like, yes, thank you. Right, like this takes time, this takes work, this takes effort. And all of them have a teacher or a guide or a coach along the way, right? Like everybody has their Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, they're called the spiritual guide and the hero myth.
Right. And a Yoda, right?
Yep.
So that's when I was like, you know, this is, there's really something here. And once I started posting about it, I started getting messages from a lot of other coaches that were like, your content just seems so authentic now.
Yeah.
Like your mannerisms, like you just seem excited. Like you just seem like you want to be here.
Right.
Right. And for me, that was enough to be like, okay, yeah, like I felt that, but other people can see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, we may have talked about this in the past, but we've never been more plugged in, right, as a society, and so Instagram has never been more flooded with content, specifically Instagram, but social media in general has never been more flooded with content, and so you're having a lot more competition in general, and so when you have all these options available, so to speak, you are going to latch on with what you identify with most. And when you are trying to be that generic coach, I help moms lose X pounds in 12 weeks, right? How many people, like millions upon, probably quite literally millions of coaches probably do that. And so what they're going to do is they're going to latch onto the people that they identify with as far as their hobbies and their likes and dislikes and who they are as a person. And so when you essentially kind of whitewash yourself and just say, oh, I'm generic coach number 4, then they're like, they have no reason to invest their personal self into you. And then when you're like, oh, I'm a bookworm and we're going to, you know, become the main character of your own life, then they're like, I can resonate with this person and I absolutely want Ashley to be my coach versus the first 3 coaches that I looked at. And not to go into a side tangent, but I just recently celebrated my 1-year anniversary with my business.
Congrats.
Thank you. And one of my goals when I first set off was I want to be here in 1 year. Like, not necessarily with a financial goal. I just still want to be working on my business in 1 year's time. Because a lot of people will start, and I'm sure you can attest to this too, they post content that they view valuable. That is a lot of coach-centered work. A lot of coach-centered stuff. This is the science behind why I do what I do and stuff like that, which isn't necessarily wrong, but they don't quite have the voice to speak to the client or prospective client or the audience. They make a few posts of those, then they have a call to action saying, I'm looking for 5, insert avatar here, trying to lose weight in the next 12 weeks. They get absolutely nothing because they have no personality in their content. They get discouraged and they fall off. That span probably happens in about 3 months. And so in the year that I've been here, I've seen that happen 4 times, four different cycles of that start-stop cycle that also translates to health and wellness. And so, where the hell was I going with that? Oh, anyway, I just noticed that a lot of times people try to fit into that mold, like what you were saying earlier. I should do this. I should fit into this. This person does this, therefore I should fit into this. And I'm by no means an expert in business and content creation. I'm not an expert in anything. Barely even health and fitness, and maybe Dungeons and Dragons. But I'm seeing all these people that are like just very generic, essentially whitewashing themselves, or boiling out all of their personality just so that they can present quote unquote valuable content without actually presenting their authentic self. And part of that is the unnatural nature of talking to a camera, when in reality we need that human to human connection to read body language and stuff. But you were at that stage, and then you kind of broke out of that cocoon, and now people are coming to you and at least relating with you on a deeper level, and wanting to say, okay, this person not only knows what she's talking about, but she's speaking my language. And I think that last one is more important than the first part, because nobody, like, I have a master's degree right there. I don't talk about it. This is the only time you'll see it. This is the only time I ever really mention it, and I don't talk about it because nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit.
Nobody's ever asked. Nobody has ever asked for my certs or my educational background, and I'm like, but I did all these things, and
Yeah.
they're like, I don't care. Can you get me where I want to be, and are we gonna have a little bit of fun doing it, right? Like,
Yeah, exactly. I'll get a lot of people that follow me, and just either in the DMs or in the calls, they're like, I really like your content. It is different than what I see elsewhere, and I definitely feel the same way about your content because you post that. And I'm pretty stoic. Like, I just sit at my D&D table with like implements around me, and I talk like for fitness or something like that. And you are actually making skits and actually performing out of it because you're naturally a performer. And so you're doing a much better job on that front. And I think now that you can actually have taken the chains off, so to speak, you can actually be free and be who you want. I think the content game is really showing and reflecting that.
And I think it just comes down to accepting too that you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Like, you're just not. And I'm not even tea. I'm like something from a witch's cauldron.
Right, exactly.
Like,
Witch's brew.
Right, and that's okay. Like, it's not for everyone, and it's not supposed to be for everyone.
Yeah.
That's the whole point, right? And there are going to be people that don't get it. Like, they don't get it at all. And that's okay. There are going to be people that think it is fucking stupid. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
Because it's not for some people. And if that is a group coaching call last night, my clients want to do a steps for smut challenge.
Nice.
Right? If that is what gets my clients to hit their steps, I don't care if anybody else thinks that's weird, right? We're gonna have a good time.
Yeah. So what is that? They have to hit X number of steps per day before they can read their guilty pleasure?
Before I send them the next chapter. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I will be digitally sending them a chapter per X number of steps.
Interesting. So you're the gatekeeper there.
I'm the gatekeeper, and I don't typically like gatekeeping behavior, but in this case, yes, I will be the gatekeeper.
That's different because that's a reward, right? You're unlocking the reward.
It's a reward, yeah.
Yeah. Other gatekeeping is
a little smutty reward.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that, right? Let that nerd flag fly.
I do. I need a nerd flag for my office, like a legit. Maybe I'll make one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, your logo's. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that? Because I don't see it anywhere on you. Like, oh, there we go.
It's on my necklace.
Nice. I like it. I like that necklace.
Thank you.
I should have.
Etsy.
I don't have my logo anywhere. I do. I got it on my business card, but you don't see that.
I love your stuff. Your stuff is so well done.
Well, I wish I could take credit. Actually, I did design that. I didn't design the logo, but my designer does my other stuff, like my 2 ebooks here. I have a third one, but I haven't printed it off. And then that is my journal. My designer did all those. That's Dune. I didn't do that.
Listen, if I've learned anything in the last year and a half, it's that we can't do everything. Believe me.
Yeah.
I tried.
I know.
And I do the creative aspect. Like, I do my own design and stuff. But even still, like, there's some stuff that, like, no, I don't want to do it.
Yeah. No, I definitely understand that, and I feel like everybody has their strengths. Like I wouldn't necessarily say content is my strength, but I think it's a strength for you because you have that just that performative nature in general. And I came to realize earlier this week that I don't have enough hours in the day, and I might actually be closer to my client cap than I realized. And so now I'm entertaining the thought of what an assistant coach would mean to me and what that would look like. And so just even being an entrepreneur, we're wearing all the hats. And I recently brought on a full-time staff member to help me with some back-end stuff. So she has taken a lot of brunt of the work. And then I have my designer. She's doing stuff as well. I'm always kind of like drip feeding her stuff. But I might need somebody to work a little bit more client-facing, but also like in the trenches. Like if I were to bring on another coach, I would have them doing content as well. And
Yeah.
having them be a part of the face.
If you want to talk about this after the podcast, I have a friend who just took on an assistant coach, so I can talk to you about that process.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. I want to make sure that their values align with Phoenix Performance. So they have to be a nerd.
Absolutely.
So, yep. But yeah. I wanted to talk about the branding aspect, which we just talked about. And there was something along those lines which I wanted to talk about. How have you been feeling about content recently? Because I know this was a relatively recent revelation or immersion that you've had, right? How long? A couple weeks, I think?
Yeah, about a month and a half. Which is actually really interesting because back in February, I did a photo shoot. Mm-hmm. And I brought this basically like fairy dress with me, right? Like it's like a full length, I'm sure you've seen the pictures, like corseted, like almost like a LARPing dress.
Yeah, I was gonna say cosplay.
Right? And I was like, can I get pictures taken in this dress? And the photographer was like, abso-fucking-lutely. And I think that this was kind of always in the back of my mind. Because I was just like, I don't know why I brought that dress. Like, mm-hmm. And then I got the pictures back and I was like, oh, well, this is actually really perfect. I now have branded pictures for my new avatar. Like, because I got those back after I switched my avatar. And I forgot your question.
No, that was that. I think you said a couple weeks ago when you had your photo shoot. That was kind of like the catalyst to really start the rebranding process.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No. Like I think it was always kind of in the back of my mind that that's where I wanted to be, but mm-hmm. something was holding me back of that feeling of like, well, what if people think I'm weird? I am weird.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I'm weird. What if people think I'm too much? I am too much for some people. That's okay.
Yeah.
So it was really just coming to terms with those things and having to be okay with those things. And I've gotten some messages that are just like, why would you post about this? It's men, right?
Yeah,
like,
not your avatar, so who cares? You're not going to sell to them anyway, so fuck them.
Mansplain it harder.
Yeah, exactly.
One the other day about like, why are you idolizing Taylor Swift? I'm like, what the? I just used her song in the background of one of my videos. What is happening? Yeah. Anyway, as far as content goes, I have just felt like this creative energy, mm-hmm. Where before it was like I'd sit there at the computer and be like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah.
Which is really funny because I'm talking about the things that I would have been talking about anyway. It's just has a twist on it,
yeah.
Right? Which is how my brain works. You need to do and this is for all you coaches out there. You need to do what works for you, mm-hmm. right? There's no one right way to do something. I've tried many different ways to do content, and I finally found a way that works for me. But for me, there has to be a creative process to it, or I'm just not gonna do it.
Yeah, Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
it's just not gonna happen.
Right. And I mean, if you want to put it in D&D terms, it's like reskinning or reflavoring something. Like, let's say you expected the party to go down this path and they were going to go into a dungeon and experience these certain enemies, but they don't. They decide to go through the forest. Well, guess what? The encounter that you had prepped out, now it's a forest encounter. And that's essentially what you're doing, is just reflavoring the same type of content, but putting it in a way that speaks more to you and more to your newer-ish avatar.
I just had this talk with my almost 12-year-old. He's writing a one shot, or like planning out a one shot. And I was like, here's the biggest advice I can give for you as a first time DM, because he's about to DM for the first time. Don't overplan.
I was just going to say under-prepare, because that's...
Under prepare.
Yep.
Your sphere of control, and this is everything in life, right? This applies to everything in life, but especially as a DM. You cannot control what your players are going to do.
No.
Like, I mean, to a certain extent, you can say, like, no, you can't do that. But, like, man, like I've told you, I ran Dungeon of the Mad Mage levels 1 through 20.
That's a mega dungeon, too, right?
There are it's a mega dungeon.
Yeah.
And it's all fucking wizards. Like, level 20 combat, and I am playing 7 wizards with 9th level spells, and I'm just like, I can't keep track of all of this.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's casting away.
And I had 2 freaking Bardlock players
Nice.
with all the charisma. But yeah, just telling him, like, you cannot control what other people are gonna do.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
And that goes for everything in life.
Yeah, absolutely. Going down the D&D route, I know he's he said he gave me 12, so he might be a little young. But one book that really helped me with that is The Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master. It's a
Ooh, that might be a good one for him.
yeah, it's actually a relatively short book, but essentially it teaches you how to outline the preparation for a session in a way that you're not writing a script. Like I would write like 10, 12 pages of like an actual something that would be in like a screenplay.
Yep.
I'd have highlighted dialogue and everything like that. I'm like, all right, next they're going to go here, then they're going to go here, then they're going to go here. And I tried to just like, over prepare. Now, with the exception of like stat blocks that I print off, I might print off 3 pages. And it's like a quick recap of what happened last time. Some strong start, because a good rule in writing, if you're not sure where to go, a man walks in the room with a gun. How do they react? That's essentially how I start most sessions. And then I have a list of potential scenes. They can go here, they can go to this shop, they can visit this. Some fantasy locations or like fantastical locations, like if they're in the woods, they come across this globe that has a glowing yellow crystal for whatever reason, and then they're like, oh, what the hell is that? And then some secrets that are story beats that aren't attached to anything that they can then learn wherever they are, rather than saying only the king knows this information, they have to go to the king to find this. And then they don't go to the king. I'm like, okay, well, maybe the barmaid actually overheard one of the king's guards saying this. Oh, and then now they know. And so, like, having information that's not tied to any particular NPC area or whatever can help further the overarching story while they're carving their own path. And then then having a list of essentially random encounters that they can have, and then items that they'll get in that session. That, like, just that overall arching skeleton outline has really helped me, because I'm still able to navigate the story in a way that is slightly hand-holdy for my chaotic group, but I'm not also writing 12 pages of content like I would be writing a book, and it helps me a lot.
Yeah, because I have made the mistake of making every single storefront in Waterdeep
Yeah.
only for my players to ask to go visit a sex store. So there is now Bad Dragon is now canon in Waterdeep.
Nice. Nice. You mentioned this is a good
They're
segue.
always going to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good segue.
Yep. This is a good segue because you talked about how you want to empower bookworms to become the main character of their life. Obviously, that resonates with me because I use the same verbiage. What does being the main character mean to you?
It means a couple things to me. So I also use the term, like, when it comes to being the main character in your life, it's getting rid of that damsel in distress mentality.
I like that.
Right? It's taking ownership of your health.
Yeah.
So many women. It's not malicious, right? But I hear, well, I can't lose weight because of my hormones. I can't get healthy because of my kids. I can't. Like they're putting the blame on everything except for themselves.
Yep.
Now, I'm not saying those things don't matter, right? I have hormone issues. I have children. All of those things matter, and it can make it harder.
Yeah.
100%. But you need to take ownership for your health.
Yeah. Yeah, I call that I call it two things. That type, like you said, that damsel in distress is that NPC energy, but that voice inside your head, I call that the villain voice. Because if the main villain could stop the heroes from growing up and becoming stronger and becoming the main character in the first place, they would give them that negative self-talk, so then they don't actually answer that call to action. They don't grow, so they would be nipping it. And so you have the hero voice and then the villain voice, and most people's villain voice is significantly louder than their hero voice. And so the whole thing about reclaiming being that main character is to quiet down the villain voice and make the hero voice stronger and make it louder. And so
Yeah. I'm gonna keep using damsel in distress because for most smut readers, they're gonna fall in love with the villain. So
Okay.
so we can't do that.
For sure.
The villain's almost always better looking in the books, so that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Being the main character in your life also means putting yourself first. That's hard for everybody, but especially for moms. Because for some reason, we as a society have grown to believe that if we put ourselves before our children, we are bad moms.
Right.
If I feed myself before I feed my kids, I'm a bad mom. Right? If I take time to go do something for myself and I hand the kids their tablets, God forbid,
Right.
for an hour or two and let them play Roblox, I'm a bad mom. But where is that voice coming from too?
Well, just like society in general, I guess.
Is it society? Is it yourself? Right? It's both.
Yeah, it's
right?
both, yeah.
It's both, for sure. And I always tell moms, if you're worried about being a bad mom, you're probably a good mom, because bad moms aren't worried about being a bad mom.
Right. They probably think they're good moms.
They probably think they're good moms. So being the main character in your life is writing your own story. Right? It's living your life true to your values, your beliefs. It's putting yourself first. It's owning up to your health, to your actions, to understanding your spheres of control, because the truth is, like we just talked about, we have control over very little. We can control our actions, our words, and how we respond to others, and that's about it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I like that a lot. And I want to end this with one question. If you were to
Okay.
if you were to create a character sheet for yourself in real life, what class would you be and why?
Okay. I would absolutely 100% be a barbarian.
Nice. Okay.
Because I am a performer, I'm a creator, I sing, but oh do I rage.
Exactly.
It's an interesting multi-class though.
Yeah, the barbarian. I like that. I was talking with somebody on Instagram. They were trying to be a barbarian, but they were having a lot of conflict between raging and not being able to concentrate.
Yeah. And I'm thinking it would be like oh my god, what is that cartoon? Do you remember Metalocalypse?
Oh yeah.
Did you ever watch that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing, is like a heavy metal like bard who rages. I actually think I had somebody in a one shot who played Swiss Guard as their character.
Nice.
But But yeah, I'm definitely a barbarian.
Nice. I like that. I like that. Um, I got a jet here in a minute, so before we end the
Yeah.
recording, can you just tell everybody how they can get a hold of you and all of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on, I almost said Amazon. Man, I need more coffee. On Instagram at levelupstrength is where you can find me. Um, Ashley Rogers. You can find me on Facebook at Facebook/levelup Ashley Rogers.
Cool, cool, cool. Awesome. Well, Ashley, I absolutely love your message, and I know we resonate a lot with, sounds like overlapping branding and even a little bit of overlapping sub niches. And so I'm sure we'll have more of these because I want to talk more about the D&D side of things. But I just want to thank you for jumping on, and I'm sure we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thank you so much for having
Awesome.
me.
No problem.